Hey, what's going on, Gastor? How you doing, bro?
Chilling, man. I'm excited to have you on. For those of y'all unaware, that is clearly not Shalewa Sharpe.
I
Very
could be.
different voice.
I know Shalewa enough. I could try to do an imitation. It may not be. Never mind. I'm not gonna do that.
Yeah, don't do that.
I
Don't
don't
do
want that smoke.
that. Yeah, we're joined today by the homie Brandon Collins. He's subbed in before. You know what I mean?
So,
Super subbing in again. Appreciate you as always, homie.
absolutely. I feel like I'm the go-to sub co-host. I've like there's
Yeah,
been so many shows in New York where like someone be like, "Hey, my co-host is out of town. Can you like come and co-host this show?" And sometimes it'll be a show like I'd never done before, but I know the host that I'm going to be on stage with, and most of the time it went fine. But there's some times where the co-host is just like they have their own energy that they're used to,
yeah.
and it's like hard to play off of that. But I appreciate you because it's always easy to talk to you, man. You know what I mean? Like just rep and stuff.
Thank you, homie. Yeah, I do think there is definitely things that people look for in host. Um, Being frank, it's a I don't know how else to phrase it, but I look for adults. Like,
Yeah,
yeah, like I appreciate funny, but like I want to know that you've been through shit a little bit, and
mm.
I don't know, you stick to schedules.
Yes,
I
yes.
think stuff like that, like it's silly, but in comedy, I can't assume.
Hmm.
So yeah, I stuff like that I don't take for granted anymore. And yeah, that's the first priority. Real talk, we've had like I think 4 guest hosts, and I think those will be all the guest hosts I ever have. Like I'll just rotate through them
Mm. Yep.
forever. Like I trust them. Um, there's other people that might like I've considered, and I'll put them in if it ever got to that, but it's rare. Like I feel like I trust people. Is my group, you know what I mean?
Got it. Yeah, yeah. You wouldn't want to be a producer on the Daily Show right now, where you got this like revolving door talent just coming through every week. You like, like I
Yo,
don't
it's
know.
insanity. Yeah,
Yeah.
you don't know what you're going to. It's literally the reason I feel SNL is such week to week success. Now you don't
Mm.
know what you're working with every week. Like that
Yeah.
person might be really good at what they do, but like we don't know what are the super specific nuanced setup to make that person shine. And you got to
Absolutely.
figure that out in 5 days. Like you
It's tough. It's
got
tough, man. Because
Sunday, Monday off. You show up in the office
yep.
and like, oh yeah, this person they've only worked this one way for 30 years.
Hmm.
Match that this week.
Yeah. And you meet them like in a crowded office with like the most intimidating people like in comedy, and you're like, oh, like, and then you're trying to pitch, hoping it meets their sensibility. But I can't imagine what it was like pitching sketch ideas to Elon Musk. That must have been a nightmare.
Yo, insanity. And not only that they're pitching to Elon Musk, but like the week before was like probably like Chris Rock and then like
Hmm.
Taylor Swift. Like that range of like what's gonna connect with them, their personality types.
Hmm.
Can they deliver this joke? That's just I
Yeah.
don't know.
There's
God
definitely, I
bless
am,
those people.
yeah, I imagine in the writer's room, there's definitely times, because they announce like three at a time, like the upcoming hosts. And I'm
Yeah,
sure the writers have no say really in like who Lauren books for it.
right.
And so they probably look at the list and they're like, God damn it. Like, I don't want to do that, bud.
Come on, man. You ain't gonna get my jokes.
Yeah. I actually, that's actually gotten me through a lot of generals and like pitching out here in
Yeah.
LA is because I think about what it would be like. I'm like, no matter how bad this possibly goes, it can't be as bad as what it might be in an SNL room where you're pitching ideas with like dozens of writers to a celebrity who's like usually the biggest person in the world at that moment. And then like just getting no response. Like you just bombing, just pitching an idea. I'm like, oh yeah, this is easy. I could,
Hey, there you go, man. You found the key to success there, bro.
yep.
Yeah, I know I did a storytelling show once where the host to this day I can't remember who the hell he is. I forget because I'm not in that world.
Mm,
He's he's an older white guy, gray hair, glasses, and he's a fashion icon.
okay.
I know the exact like that's not, and I'm sure he is. Like he's a
Yeah,
big deal, but like to me, I didn't know who this dude was from Adam.
yeah.
You know what I mean? So like when I showed up, like this is how big of a like this is how weird it was to me. Like I've done that show like and to sold out crowds like 5 times. This time they sold out faster in a bigger space. And when I told my wife I was doing the show, she's like, "Oh, I'm going to that one." Like, she rocks with this dude, you
Oh
know?
shit.
So I
Okay.
was like, "Yo, like, I'm like your husband. Like, like, I've done this show a few times. I'm dope too." She's like, "Yeah, yeah, but I know you spiel. I want to see this dude." And he's not a comic, nothing. He's a fashion person. Um, and then my daughter got hyped because apparently he's also like a voice in a kid's show at the
Oh
time.
wow.
So like,
Okay.
he's legit. Like, I'm not knocking him at all. Just, I know, like, very different worlds. And like, everyone was excited for the show, either for him or for me, not both. Like, no one knew him or me
Yeah.
at the same time except my wife. And even she clearly had a fan, like, was a fan of his work more than mine. So like,
That's the worst, man. When like you put someone effort or something, then people are like, oh yeah, you were fine, but that one person, I was like,
yo,
I've been checking them out for a while. They're great. Like
yo,
actually
but
about you, bro. My one of my best friends. I've done so many things in comedy that I'm very proud of, and that he said like, I'm proud of you, B, for doing this stuff. But he was like, yo, you had Gastor on your fucking Drunk Black History podcast. I was like, that's the time you reach out to me proactively to talk about my work. He's a big fan of you, bro. Like he was like a big fan of your storytelling and stuff like that. So I was
I
like, oh,
appreciate it. Listen, I'm sorry you felt that through me,
it's
but
okay.
I'm
It's okay.
I love doing the show. I had a blast. But like, I remember that moment because like, there came a point where, because they're trying to treat us well, the show producers left the two of us alone in the green room
Mm,
for like 30 minutes. And like, we don't know what to talk to about each other. I'm a
yeah.
comedian and he's like a fashion person.
Yeah.
Whatever fashion he does, I'm not that,
Yeah.
and we started politicking, and like, I ended up talking to him about, like, I was like, I'm trying to connect with this guy. So I talked to him about sneakers. And like, I literally walk him through the history of Air Force Ones.
Okay.
So I'm
Okay.
like, yeah, like they call them, uptowns, it's a real big thing in New York. Um,
Yeah,
and then
especially with the
like,
white people that get them dirtied up. It's so
yo,
disrespectful. It's
yeah, I'm
so
like,
disrespectful. What's
it's
happening?
an issue when they rock them because they don't know how to maintain them. There's a running joke in black culture: when you got the old black ones, you about to do some street work.
Mm-hmm.
Nelly made a cool song about him. Like, I was like throwing it
Big
down with this.
boy.
I went through it with him, and he's like
Yeah.
fascinated at the shit. And like, I didn't realize while we're talking, like, the door had opened, and like, everyone involved with the show was just like blown away by this convo.
Mm.
And then like, they leave, and they're like, "Yo, you understand?" And I remember his name, and I only remember his name because I remember people saying this afterward.
Yeah.
They're like, "Yo, you know that you just taught Tim Gunn about fashion." And I'm like,
Oh wow.
"Okay." And I'm like,
Okay.
"Yeah." I'm like, "Yo, Tim Gunn is like a fashion icon. Like, he's been on like America, like he's on like a top model show.
America's Next Top Model and stuff like
Yeah,
that.
like, he's one of
Okay.
like the main people on that." The only reason I knew him afterward is because on How I Met Your Mother, the running gag is that he's Barney's soup person.
Okay.
So like, again, playing a fashion person. So like,
Mm.
they're like, "Yo, like, you're teaching Tim Gunn about like fashion. That's crazy." And I'm like, "Word?" Like, okay. Like, I teach white people about sneakers
Yep.
all the time. Like, why is this different?
Yep.
Then I always picture that has to be what SNL is like. Like,
Mm.
it's just this weird like connection of like
Yep.
intelligent different cultures, no concept of what's gonna work or not. And like, they're just like, "Yeah, figure it out. You got a week."
Yeah, but that's also kind of like what's fun about it. It's kind of like really scary, but also like very exciting if you can handle that kind of pressure and anxiety. I think
Yeah.
as a creative, like I feel like every week having that challenge. I was thinking about that because I've been writing a lot like for
Yeah.
studio, and I'm like trying to knock out a bunch of different things, especially this week. And I'm like, oh, I could work at a fast paced volume, but I know my anxiety is so like unpredictable sometimes, and it's
Yeah.
extremity that like I'm like, I don't know if I could handle SNL in a healthy way. Like, there's a reason probably why they do a lot of drugs Or at
Yeah,
least
yeah.
allegedly they do a lot of stuff backstage there. You know, like because I'm like, oh, I might lose my mind, especially if we have a guest host that I just don't jive with, or like my scripts, my scenes got cut, or like what have you. Like I feel like that might be a rough environment for me to navigate.
It's a personality type for sure.
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah. Like I realized that like recently that like with comedy in general, um I never want to work because of a deadline. Every time I've done that,
Mm.
it's sucked. Like instead, like I try to like I try to finish something and then
Okay.
tell my manager, hey, I got this thing. See if you can sell it. Whereas like
Mm.
whenever he's been like, hey, someone likes you for this, can you get this done by? I hate those moments. Whenever I got to get something done by a date, I'll figure it out. But like my wife and kids feel the stress in the house, like it's palpable.
Mm.
You know what I
Yeah.
mean? Like I still don't know. Like my wife Gabby, she told me recently. She's like, you walk different. You won't tell me what it is. I just know
Mm-hmm.
something's wrong. And I was like, what is it? She's like, I can't tell you because I don't want you to start acting different. And then I don't know how to respond. I need to have that advantage at least to like
Yep.
adjust the house. I know I got to give you some more love. I got to keep the kids away from you. You a little more snappy. So like I need that heads up. But like know that when you are stressed, everyone knows. Like if a comedy
Mm.
deadline came up, it changes your whole vibe. Whereas everything else comedy, it's super relaxing and fun because it's playtime.
How do you handle that, bro? Like getting that feedback and like trying to be like a good man, like for your family. Because my wife talks about that too. She's like, especially like before this year, like I would get really stressed out before a show, before I'm not
Yeah,
producing a show and hosting it. And sometimes I get snappy, and I don't mean to be like that. It's just like my anxiety, right? Like I have trouble like kind of controlling it in a healthy way where I'm not having cold sweats and stuff,
right, right.
and like, how have you navigated that?
Yeah. Two things real specifically. One, um, I try to minimize the moments that it happens. I think that's the
Mm,
the most important thing for me. Like
yeah.
I realized that so much of this job is creating. So instead of waiting for someone to tell me to create, I create proactively. That way I don't have to deal with a deadline. I got a finished thing always that I'm handing off. Like, hey, I worked on this script. Can you show this to people? As opposed to waiting for someone to say, hey, can you write something for this? Because then that tension comes up. So I try to proactively be more like busy and productive than I would be so that I'm never waiting for a thing. And in turn, when those things show up, it's on someone else's timeline. And then
Mm,
I accept that as much as I do that, it's still gonna happen sometimes. So someone's gonna reach out to me. Thankfully, people rock with what we do. Like I have fans in the industry that like me, and they're like, "Hey, I would like you for this thing." And I hope they don't stop
mm.
reaching out. I hope no one hears this and like, "Oh, for Gastor's mental health, let's stop sending him work." No, fuck my mental health. Send that shit. I want all of those projects. But
Yeah.
I'm learning to get better with it. But one of the other thing I do is I let her know like, hey, there's real big things coming up. I'm gonna be stressed for like 3 weeks. Uh, and I try as long
That's fair.
I
Yeah.
think having knowing that like we're gonna have a roller coaster for a little bit helps me to kind of be more cognizant of it. And it also lets everyone else know, like, hey, like work with me, bear with me for a little bit. Um, and I think that's kind of been like the key to it. Because before, like, no one knew what the hell was going on. Like, I'm just over here stressed out by myself, being like uh a
Mm,
terrible like man ego. Yeah, I got this on all me. Nobody needs to know my struggle. And
yep.
yeah, like I don't need to be Rocky in comedy. You know, like I'm allowed to accept love and talk about
Mm.
the things I'm stressing. So yeah, I think those two things have kind of been key.
Okay, that sounds like a man in therapy as well.
I don't do that enough, but I do a lot of
Okay.
podcasts.
Okay.
Yeah, it
Where
allows
you
me to
talk
talk
through
through
some
my
stuff.
thoughts.
Yeah, I go to the comedian's therapist. I don't know if you know about this dude Alan. I go to that guy,
Yeah,
and I've been going to him for about 3 years, and he's really like changed like my life in regards to how I approach things, how I handle anxiety. Because for the longest time, I didn't know what it was. I didn't know what anxiety was. Like even when I was younger, I remember like things would make me uncomfortable or like make me obviously anxious. and I would get like cold sweats. I would start feeling kind of like ill, almost like I had a tummy ache, but like it wasn't that serious. Like wasn't that serious, and it
Mm.
would go away within like an hour or something like that. I'm like, that's so weird. Like my heart was palpitating. Like I don't know. I don't know. Anyways, back to being 16, right? Um, but now I know what that is, and I know how to like think about what's causing this. All right, like is this something I can control? If so, what's my solution to it? If not, I just got to be at peace that it is what it is. It'll work out how it works out, and I just have to handle that outcome, you know. And I try to not let that impact my relationship with my wife, who's very like communicative about like how she feels and what she observes in my
Yeah.
behavior. But like we're trying to family plan this year, and so I definitely don't want my kids to feel that energy. You know what I mean? Like to feel
Yeah.
that anxious energy because I feel like I worry that they'll then become anxious on
Right.
their end,
Right.
and
Yeah.
you know, that's a lot of medical bills. You know, more therapy that I got to pay for. I got to pay for my therapy, but now I got to pay for my kids' therapy. That's too much.
I need
We're
this to get
comedians. We
better
gotta
for
have
financial
insurance.
reasons. You know.
Yeah. Sign up for Patreon, everybody. Patreon.com.
I
Please
love
help
that.
us.
I do think that I got more anxious regularly with my regular jobs. So I think that
Mm,
alone, my kids have noticed that like I'm generally happier since I've been a full-time comic. Um, and while I do still get moments of stress and anxiety for major things,
yep.
unlike my regular job, when I finished the task at a regular job, it was never a celebration. Whereas now it's
Mm,
like, hey, like this is stressful, but know that I'm working towards things that like genuinely bring me joy.
yeah.
And that's I think like also like a checks and balance of it. Like, like hey, I didn't get fired is not a celebration, but
Yeah.
and comedy, like, yo, I made this beautiful thing, or I accomplished something that I didn't think I could last year. Stuff like that holds real weight. Especially more and more as like we move up from just being stand-ups, where like now we're like, creating genuine content. um, I think that's kind of cool because it's also like I could show my kids a tangible thing I made. It's
Mm,
not like a
yep.
theoretical, like, oh, I cracked this joke that I also can't perform in front of you because you're a minor. Like, so like being able to say, like, oh, I'm on that TV show
Yeah.
because of the stress you saw me. This is the result. Like, that's kind of really dope. So I think that's been kind of helpful with a lot of that. I hope it continues. I dig it, and I think I think in time we get better at managing it. I
Yes.
hope so.
I
I
was.
hope that's how this works.
Yeah.
you know,
I
um,
yeah. I hear you, bro. Like I think it just comes with like maturity, like in the more experiences you have and the more you learn about yourself and the people that you really care about and what your priorities are. I think
yeah,
that's what helps you navigate
hell yeah. I also don't want to skip over the fact that in the midst of all this deep conversation, I enjoyed that you called it a tummy ache. I think that's really cool.
I said that and I was like, ooh, please, let's keep moving on. Just keep pushing forward.
I think that's beautiful. Hell yeah,
Well, yeah, I find my vocabulary is all over the place these days just because like I'm writing like an animated pilot. I'm writing this like fantasy comedy for the studio, and then I'm working on a horror film. So like my vocabulary is just topsy turvy at this point. And I'm even seeing things like topsy turvy. Like I just it's so crazy, man. I feel like my mind's like going like just it's almost like multiverses inside my brain. It's bad, man. It's bad. LA has changed me. I gotta come back to New York. They call it La La Land for a reason.
Yo, it hasn't even been that long. How long have you been out there for now?
I've been out here. No, it might be. It's almost a year. Almost a year.
Yeah,
Like I've been back in New York here and there for like a week or two. I've been back twice to New York. But I'll be back in June. Like my lease is up in mid June. But I already will be back probably here in August. I'll be back and forth every few months going forward in the rest of my career, I imagine. If not like having a permanent place here by like
yeah,
next year, I would say. Just because of all the stuff that happens in film. You know, I love comedy and like I like going back to New York to like do like comedy shows and things I have set up there. But if I'm trying to stay in the film industry and like get work, gonna have to be out here pretty often too. So my wife is more embracing of being bi-coastal than I am. She's like, like this is our life now, being back and forth between LA and New York. I'm like, no, not necessarily. She's like, B, like, what are you talking about? This is us. This is gonna be us now. And I was like, oh, okay. She's like, and I'm fine with that. She's actually more into that than just having a permanent place at either or. She's a native New Yorker, so she's kind of like, I don't need to be in New York forever anymore.
Yeah.
So
That's beautiful,
yeah,
man. Yo, keep
yeah,
her.
yeah.
She's a winner. I don't
It's
know if you
cool.
know. She's solid. She sounds good.
She's very very solid. She's a very amazing woman. She makes great food, and she's like my muse. Like she really is. Like she inspires me in a lot of my ideas. Everything I write, I pass it by her. Like I want to get to a place where I'm producing movies, and she's like Christopher Nolan and his wife produce everything together. Since
Hell
he
yeah.
like started after Memento, I think. They create a production company, all that stuff. So that's what I want to do with my wife. I want my wife to be like there every step of the way, like with everything I create, so I can get her stamp of approval. Because she has, she's very good at like seeing things from an audience perspective.
Yeah.
And so that's like when I produce live events, she's always like, all right, you need to consider these elements to make sure everyone has an equally good time at
Hell
the
yeah.
show and stuff like that. And so she does that now with my scripts, where she's like, it's a lot of guys in there. There's a lot of guys. A lot of masculine energy coming off these pages, Brandon. I'm like, okay, fair.
I don't want to tell you what to do. I'm just saying,
Yeah.
I love that. Yeah, I don't think enough people think of that. Like, I've thought a lot. Like, if I ever got like my own sitcom, and I had like unlimited control of the writers' room, I obviously would want to prioritize comics and people that have written sitcoms.
Mhm.
But a part of me would want to just have a couple of my just friends, because there's
Okay.
people in my life that like have no intention of performing on stage, but I feel my funniest around.
Okay. Okay.
Like they
Got it.
bring the
Yeah.
most funniest version of me to reality. And I don't necessarily think that's always comics for everybody. And I think that's okay, like Donald Glover, like I always think of like his
Yeah.
little brother. Like I don't think that dude
Man.
intended
Yeah.
to
It's
do what
crazy.
he does. He's like,
Hmm.
I just think Donald feels his most creative around that guy. And he's like, oh, okay, I could, and it's been a blessing for both of them,
Yeah.
you know?
Donald Glover has a recent it's a video on YouTube. It's like a GQ interview he did. It just came out
Yeah.
like I think 2 days ago, and he talked about like how like he brought his brother along to like be a writer and like then take over Atlanta and stuff like that. And he talked about his brother and his mom have very similar comedy sensibilities, which is incredibly dark sense of humor. Like they laugh at like the most twisted like horrific things. And I'm like, that comes out in his writing though. And that's I think what makes some of his stuff so funny and uncomfortable at the same time. You know what I mean? Like, because we had to come from a very dark place, especially those last 2 seasons of Atlanta, to come
Yeah.
up with some of that stuff. And I think it's some of the best television I've ever seen because it's incredibly raw and just completely uncomfortable, but so damn funny.
Hell yeah. Look at that. Learn something new, baby. Yeah, I didn't expect this to start off the show right now.
No, that's what you
Emotional
do,
roller
man.
coaster, industry insight. You know what I mean? We
Mm-hmm.
do it all on the War Report, baby.
That's right. Bang, bang.
Bang. And sound effects. Let's get into the news, Brandon. uh, Kicking off this week, Ram electric pickup trucks promise to go 500 miles per hour per charge. That's right. Stellantis chief executive Carlos Tavares has said in the past that the company's electric Ram pickup truck will, while being later to the market than trucks from major competitors, would surpass them in range and capacity. On Wednesday, the company put some
Interesting.
specific numbers behind the CEO's claims. While the final figure has yet to be announced, Stellantis expects the fully electric Ram 1500 Rev pickup will be able to drive 500 miles on a single charge, much further than either the Ford F-150 Lightning or GM's Chevrolet Silverado 1500, which GM expects to go about 400 miles per range per charge. Long range versions of Ford's Lightning can go 320, and Tesla's claims of their Cybertruck supposedly will also reach the 500 range as well.
Hmm.
Bang, yo. Are you big on electric vehicles?
I'm not, man. It's amazing how far they've come. Because I remember in high school, this is how rich the people were in my neighborhood. This kid had a Ford Prius that was an electric car, but
Okay.
it didn't really charge like well. Like he could maybe get like you could maybe run on the battery for about 5 hours. Like it was very limited.
Wow.
The rest of it ran on gas, but it was like the start of the electric vehicle thing, at least from my experience.
Yeah.
So to see where it's kind of come from then is pretty impressive. Like everyone out here in LA has Teslas. So like most of the Ubers we get have Teslas, which is crazy because I'm like, why are you riding Uber if you got a Tesla? I mean, there's no way you're making the payments. But anyways, um, I mean, I think it's great for the environment. I'm very curious. Do you have an electric car?
I don't. I don't know if I'd ever want one because I
How
don't
long
know
does it
the
take to
feel.
charge?
Yeah, my understanding is that that's gotten pretty fast, and I know they got like the super
Okay,
ports. Like,
yeah.
I know they take like 20 to 30 minutes at like the gas stations on the road.
Do you want to stay at any gas station you've ever been to for more than 2 minutes? Let alone 20 to 30. Like, there's no gas station I've ever been in, like, whether it's a college town, the hood, rural America, that I would want to stay at for more than 2 minutes. That's insane, dude.
Yeah, I agree. I think that has to be a home activity going forward. Yeah.
We don't want to do that.
Yeah, I that's kind of what's always thrown me off about this thing. Like, I don't like the feel of it. I've driven them like a couple times now. It doesn't feel like I'm driving a real car.
Mhm.
It feels empty in a weird way. Uh, and then I'll never do this. I know in my heart, I tell myself I want to. I live this fantasy life in my head where I do a road trip across the country. And I know,
Mm,
I don't know if I ever will, but I want the option. And I feel like the more we get into these cars, the less likely that that's going to happen. You know, I can't
yeah,
see
yeah.
myself driving from New York to LA in an electric car. That scares the hell out of me. And I don't know where I would charge along the way.
Exactly, bro. Like I did a road trip years ago. I would say like maybe 8, 9 years ago with my one of my best friends from New York all the way down to New Orleans,
Yeah.
and like we had to go like through the Midwest and back up to the Northeast. And no, there's no like I said, there's no gas station, especially when I was heading down south like that, where I would have been cool with hanging out for 30 minutes. Charging an electric vehicle and that especially like because there's still a stigma towards electric vehicles too, like because a lot of people equate that with like not being bougie but being like you have money if you can
Yeah.
afford an electric car, especially like something like a Tesla or
Right.
something like that. So yeah, I feel like that's just so many red flags, and especially if you're like not in the best area and people see you charging and they're gonna be like, oh, this guy's vulnerable, like just hanging out in this battery.
Yeah, you
I'll
really
rob
made
him.
charging sound like a curse, yo. Like, yeah,
It's
charging? You know? The nerve of this dude charging
I
on my
mean,
block.
but to your point though, like Teslas, because apparently you need like instructions on how to drive like some electric cars, like particularly a Tesla. You
Mm.
need like training on it, and there's times when like it can feel really smooth, and then it's like the start and stopping an electric vehicle that like jerks you. It's
Yeah.
almost like if you're riding with someone who's learning how to drive stick for the first time.
Yeah, it's
It's
trippy.
not a fun experience.
Yeah, like for someone that like I enjoy driving. I find it relaxing.
Same.
When that's one of the things I try to do when like I feel a little stressed. I'll just go on a drive, in particular late at night.
But you're from New York, right?
Yeah.
Okay, so you're okay with like because a big city that makes me nervous, but like Ann Arbor when I drive around my hometown because I know like the back of my hand, that's like therapeutic for me.
Right.
I'll leave my wife at like the mall and just drive around for 30 minutes just to clear my head.
Yeah,
So I
because it's
understand.
yeah, I agree. It has to be somewhere like I've been to a lot. Because like there comes to a point during a drive where like I go autopilot because I've done these
Mm-hmm.
turns
Yep.
so much. And if it's late at night, there's no other cars, so like a lot of the like the safety things become like less stressful.
Yeah.
Especially on like
That's
a
the best.
weekday. No, there's no like, oh, like I'm not gonna catch drunk people like driving at 2 a.m. on Tuesday, or less of them anyway.
Mm-hmm.
So I feel comfortable like, just driving at 2 a.m. on like a Jackie Robinson or something, and you know, it just allows me to like decongest whatever's going on in my brain.
Yep.
But I don't get that with electric vehicles. I feel like a lot of the fun goes away. Like there's like I enjoy driving with no music on sometimes. just to
Oh,
hear the
okay.
car
That's interesting.
noise. The
Okay.
Tesla doesn't give me that,
Yeah, yeah.
you know?
I got you there. I don't agree. I always like I have to play music like because that's just like my jam. Since I got like when I first got a car like when I was 16 in Ann Arbor, I was like it didn't even have a CD player in the dashboard, so I
Yeah.
manually like got this CD like Bluetooth extender where it would like get to your favorite radio station and connect to that station so you can manually play from your CD player to the radio. It was a whole thing. I would have been better off just installing a CD player into the dashboard. As much money as I pay for this thing. But that's how much I thrive off of music, like
Yeah.
in regards to my creative process is just calming me down. But my boy Baron, he used to hate it because like we would switch off driving each other to school. And I was the one who was always making music CDs, right? Mixes and stuff.
Yeah.
And every time I pick them up, I'd be like, yo, I made a new mix. And then it always had Return of the Mac and Bubba Sparks' Deliverance.
Hell
And
yeah.
so it would always open with one of those songs, and he would just lose his mind. Like, this isn't new, bro. It was either going to be Return of the Mac or Timbaland like with a banjo. And he's like, what is life?
Hey, I gotta tell you though, solid choices. You know, I agree.
Bro, people sleep on Bubba Sparks' Deliverance. Timbaland produced the shit out of that album. Like for him, for Bubba Sparks and Justin Timberlake, he produced the hell out of those White Boys albums.
Yo, I actually think it's Timbaland's best produced album. I can understand you have other songs you like more. There's albums you could say that were equal, but like full on album quality production, I thought it was his best work. Like I absolutely loved it. But apparently not enough people did to keep Bubba Sparks' career going. So
No. I remember my mom. I asked my mom to buy the CD for me, and she's like, "This dude who looks like he's from the Aryan Nation. You want this CD? Because that's the cover is like him looking kind of like a skinhead."
yeah,
And so I was like, "Yes." It's like the music's so good. Like his rhymes are not the best, but
right.
those beats. I mean, like Deliverance, She Tried, Overcome. Like Timbaland, like he gave him like
Hey,
A+
work.
beats. Yeah.
Yeah, he nailed that project. I don't know, and I feel like I understand the bars in terms of like verse for verse wasn't great, but like I don't know, White Boy had soul. There was like genuine like I felt every
Yeah.
chorus, every it was the first time I genuinely enjoyed singing from someone that couldn't sing. Like, oh yeah, like
I
he
feel it.
means all of this. And I thought that carried a lot for what he was doing.
He had a lot of heart. Like he definitely had a lot of heart. But that's what threw me off of Miss New Booty because I'm like, this isn't this. He doesn't do this shit. Because of Deliverance, he was so serious in times,
Yeah.
and I think that's why they were like, hey, you need to get a little bit more commercial, bro. That album didn't sell nothing. But
Oh man, yeah, I love that. Love the idea of that meeting. Hey, this isn't working. You're trying to be like, artistic and understanding. We need more Miss New Booty. Bring that out. There's people in suits telling them that. He's like, all right,
oh
sure,
yeah.
man. Oh man, keep it pushing. In other news, Amazon delivery driver walks into North Carolina police standoff to drop off a package. That's right. Amazon guarantees delivery, and they mean it in North Carolina. A video posted on TikTok earlier shows an Amazon driver walking by multiple parked police cars with lights flashing towards Riley house to deliver a package. The officers appear to be in a standoff at or near the recipient's house. Officers appear to visibly be surprised upon noticing the man wearing an Amazon vest attempting to deliver the package. Once police realized what the man was doing, they approached him, asked him to stop and take the package with him. The video then shows the Amazon delivery driver walking back to his car, but not before he takes a picture to prove it was delivered.
Yep. He's like, I ain't gonna miss out on this payment. That sounds immediately like a scene in Atlanta or Southside, Rest in Power.
Yeah, right? Oh my
Because
goodness.
it reminds me of the cold open where like Keith is going to return something at the store that's being robbed. Like it's everyone's like kind of like stealing shit around him, and he like comes like returns something, and the guy's like, are you looking around?"
It's taken.
Like, yeah.
Hey man, I respect this commitment to working. I've definitely like gotten in the habit of posing in the pictures now. Like because like I'm on the first floor. So like he rings the
Oh, okay.
bell, I buzz him in, but like I gotta walk to the door, and that gives him just enough time to set up the picture, but not enough
Yep.
time to take it before I'm there. So like now I'm like, what's good? Like, yo, I
Yeah.
want,
What's
I
up?
want to be in all, like tag me in this Amazon picture later. I'm in all of them joints. I love it. I appreciate
That.
their work.
Yeah.
Now they bring it like a couple of the dudes, like they've gotten like really cool with me. So they'll bring this joint to my kitchen counter now. It's good people,
That's
man.
nice.
Yeah, good service. I rock
That's
with them.
door to door service.
Straight up. Yo, shouts to Amazon. Their drivers anyway.
Well, I mean, the
Company's still
drivers in
evil
my
empire.
neighborhood, they just be tossing us stuff. They don't. they don't. They don't care.
Oh man, hey man, keep doing what you're doing. I hope this guy. Do you think he got a promotion? Like like this is one
No.
of those can't win things. Like I could see this dude like getting props when he gets back and also getting fired. Like
No. He probably just got like a thumbs up from his manager. Like you did what you were supposed to do. You put yourself, even though you put yourself in a line of danger, you did what you're supposed to do because we wouldn't expect anything less from our drivers. Like because you've heard about Amazon and they're like the way they treat some of their drivers and stuff. And by
yeah,
some of them, I mean all of them. So he probably felt like he had no choice. He's
yeah.
like, if I don't deliver this, they're going to dock my pay, and I got to pay for my kids' therapy.
Mm.
So I need to deliver this package, or at least attempt it.
It's probably not even the first time he's walked through a police scene. Like, because he wasn't the one hesitant. Hey, the cops were surprised, not him. I'm still doing what I do. This is the third police shootout I've walked through since Thursday. Okay, it's what I do.
Yep.
Okay, deliveries get made. I respect this, man. This is beautiful.
I mean, especially if I feel like that's common practice too, because especially if you work in like let's say a less than savory neighborhood and you're
Yeah,
delivering stuff, you got to have photographic evidence of everything you try to do to make sure it got in the right hands. Because we actually had someone steal from our doorstep a package from our doorstep. We
yeah.
had it all on camera. This dude was wearing a Halloween mask, like you know what I mean. But Amazon was like, "Hey, we delivered it. It's not our fault if something happened to it after, because we have proof that we delivered the package at your door."
Wow.
You know what I mean? So, but they did replace it, but they were just like, because we had the evidence that someone took it,
Yeah.
but they were like, but technically it's not our fault. You know what I mean?
Right. Right. I lost out on an argument like that with like a small camera company that I will. It's one of the reasons I want to get famous, to completely like annihilate them publicly.
Okay.
I ordered a cinema camera during the quarantine from this company. They had a good rep, but they were a local company in Tennessee, right? So
Yeah.
I ordered the camera from them. They ship it to me, and the only reason I felt comfortable ordering it is because they said signature required on delivery, and it says it on their
Mm,
receipt, on their
yeah.
like invoice page. So I said, cool. So the FedEx dude delivers it, leaves it on my doorstep. I don't get my camera, but I'm like, cool.
Mm,
I didn't sign, and so I called in. They said it says you signed. I'm like, how did that? Who signed? And it says Gastor. I'm like, I'm Gastor. I'm telling you, I didn't sign. They're like, well, it says you did. I'm like, so how did you prove that it was Gastor that signed if I'm Gastor telling you I
mm-hmm.
didn't sign? So like they realize they can't prove that. Then they go, I call the camera company. They do they call FedEx to do an investigation, and FedEx does an investigation, and they come to the conclusion of, because it was COVID, the driver we gave them permission to self-sign. And I'm like, so you
But they
understand
signed their
that
name, which is
defeats the
illegal.
signature. Yeah, like
Yeah.
he could just sign every package and says he delivered it
And keep it at home.
and keep that shit at
And
home. I'm
so,
like, I
yeah.
have no, like, how do I prove that I didn't sign or that the guy signed? And he's like, I don't
Yeah.
know. And I'm like, okay, so where does that leave me? I went back and forth with them for like legit like 2 weeks. They're like, you could place they're like you could after like the ending of it, I'm speaking with like the CEO of this company. And like he's like,
Yeah.
yo, like we can't do anything because our partners over at FedEx say they deliver it. And I'm like, yo, you understand that like I'm accusing FedEx of
Mm.
not giving me my camera. So like you asking FedEx to investigate FedEx, yeah, I'm not surprised it went their way. Like
Yeah,
that's gonna happen.
I'm
Yeah.
You tell me FedEx doesn't want to pay extra for the things that they messed up on? Come on.
So they like, yo, like we're siding with our partner. But like admittedly, we understand you feel wrong, so you could they're like you could file a complaint at small claims court locally. And I'm like, I'm in New York, my G. You want me to fly to to Tennessee to go through this court process? Like, this is grimy,
Yeah,
So I've accepted the L. It's
that's terrible
it's
though.
a terrible L. I shouldn't have to, but no, that like if I hit like 1 million followers, I will dedicate a year of my life to consistently bringing attention to this tragedy.
They'll block you though. I did that with Electrolux, which
Yeah,
is like has a great product. Like we have a washer dryer set from Electrolux, but like the dryer like has been terrible from the beginning. It's better now, but we've always had issues. And Electrolux, they were so bad they were outsourcing like customer service, like for like maintenance and stuff, to
yeah,
like random businesses in New York. They went to like this one place in Staten Island. They gave my wife the whole runaround. Said that they were coming, then cancel. Like, they kept canceling last minute to come service the machine. And so I left a Yelp review because I'm like, after the fifth time, I'm like, this is ridiculous. Like,
yeah.
don't like this company is so unreliable. They called my wife back and were like, yo, we're not coming to service your dryer until whoever posted that review takes it down. And so then I had to call Electrolux, and then they were like, "Oh, like there's nothing really we can do." I'm like, "You put us in contact with these people. They know where we live. Like, this is a weird situation you put us in." And so I kept tweeting at them every week saying, "Just a reminder: don't use Electrolux because their customer service is garbage." And then they blocked me. I've been blocked by a few businesses that try to call out.
Oh yeah, I respect it.
Yeah,
I like
it's,
this approach. I don't know, man. I need ignorant money for moments like this. Like, I would like to fly out and like spend like $10,000 to $20,000 to win this $1,000 back. I want to hang out on their like
that's
business front, but it's grimy.
That's terrible, bro. Like, I mean, the fact that they didn't even just like say, "Hey, you know what? We're just going to send you another one," because
Yeah,
they always every company has was it profits and losses, and they like take the L on like stuff that they have to replace or refurbish. It's the whole thing.
yeah, I agree. I feel like it's messed up, but they ain't want me shooting sketches. I get it. Like, there's
People use
enough of you
COVID for so
clowns.
many. Yeah, man. People use COVID for so many like excuses for bad customer service and experiences.
Mm-hmm.
It's
I'm gonna call them
crazy.
out. They time is coming. You know. Plus, like as a personal like fu, I call up their customer service and ask a lot of questions that I don't need answered. Just because, like, I figured if I could keep somebody on their staff busy
Uh huh.
for roughly 40 hours at like $25 an hour, I would get them to spend that kind of money back on unneeded business that doesn't lead anywhere. That's kind of my logic. Like, I want to
Okay.
cost them the $1,000
Yeah.
regardless.
But Gasser, you're not getting paid for that time you're on the phone with them. They're
No, but
getting
like,
paid. But
I enjoy it. Like, for my heart, it feels good.
your wife's over here like, so what did you do? What did you do today, honey, to make some money? You're like, I was just on customer service, just just bullshitting.
Doing my time, honey. Hell yeah, I did 3 hours this week on that shit. It's a project. It's long term. She don't get paid while I work on the pilot. It's theoretical money. So same idea. I might get paid off of this one day. I'm hoping it leads to material. But in the meantime,
Yeah.
it's therapeutic. It feels good. In other news, a woman who tripped over her own dog at a pet shop loses the damages case, as she should. Good for her. A woman who tripped over her own dog on a visit to a
Yeah.
pet store and groomers has lost her high court action for damages. Carol Vickery claims she broke her leg in a trip on a lip of a doorway, but Justice Tony O'Connor found the evidence was she tripped over her own dog. Mrs. Vicky, 61 of Adore Drive. Oh no, yeah, they blew that chick up. Sued Pet Zone in Kulak Village and its owner Kieran Stenson over the incident, which left her hospitalized. The defendants denied her claim and said she had actually tripped over her own dog, Goldie, which she had brought into the store because they have a grooming parlor and she wanted to have its nails clipped. On Friday, Mr. Justice Tony O'Connor dismissed her claim. The defendants, whose insurer is FBD, said they would not be seeking calls from Mrs. Vicky. Thug life, yo.
Yeah, I mean that was bizarre. She just didn't want to blame the dog or her clumsiness. She just trying to blame anybody but herself.
I feel like that's one of the perks of having dogs. Like you can, if anything, I would be blaming more of my clumsiness on my dog. Like I wouldn't even feel bad that the dog did it because I'd have been throwing so much other shit to dogs. I do that with my kids. Like they break it, I break a dish, I blame my son all the time. Like consistently. That's why I have them. I feel like they're a buffer between my fuck ups and my wife on a regular basis. And in exchange, I provide food, home, and shelter and occasional knowledge. But yeah, I haven't made a mistake in this house in years that I've admitted to. As it should be. Yeah, I think she's missing an opportunity here.
No, I mean, I think she just probably is in love with her dog too much to make the dog feel bad in any way. Like, it's one of those pet owners that's like, like I prioritize my animal over other human beings, like that kind of thing. Because bro, have you seen this? Because in Brooklyn, have you seen this, especially on Sundays? The white women that are going out with dogs and baby carriages?
Yeah.
Like, I'm like, oh, wait, so, like, wait a minute. Wait.
That is family.
You know how expensive that is?
I 100% know double-digit dogs that have better health insurance than I do. Like, easily, I could think of 10 dogs that I know for a fact their health plans are better than mine, let alone, like, the rest of their life. My homegirl Jess, I know for a fact her dog has lived. I thought about this. My homegirl Jess, her dog has lived the life of privilege that I aspire to. And that like fucked my head up. Like my dream would be to live what this dog has only known. Like that dog arrived, they got adopted. It arrived into a condo in one of the nicest parts of Brooklyn, has its own bedroom. Like it has like a trainer, a walker. Two women lovingly kiss this dog every day.
Yep.
They do everything it wants. Like I feel like if everything goes right in my comedy career, I'm gonna get like half of that. And this dog just has that. Yeah, Brooklyn dogs are treated exceptionally well. It's game changing. I'm convinced this is why pit bulls like are no longer gangster. Like they've seen a better option. They're like, oh, like why should we be out here fighting? Like we could just be in carriages going up to Brooklyn high rises. They live better. I don't blame them.
Yeah, it's like that. What's that movie? Secret Life of Pets.
Yeah.
They love that shit.
Yo, who doesn't like to get pampered? Yeah. Let's get my toenails cut. My fur is on point. I pay a lot to get my hair cut, and this getting done for them. Come on, B. Somebody come. I get walked 3 times a day. We've invented podcasting for communication. I feel like no one's talked to me in a week. Let me do a podcast. And it guarantees once a week someone talks to me. Dogs have that 3 times a day. Even when their owner is out of town, someone comes in the house and takes them out on a walk. That's insanity.
That's true. That's another wild thing is like the dog walkers that get access to people's apartments.
Yeah.
I'm like, this person's making like $20. You trusted them with the sanctity of your home.
Yo.
Like, okay, buddy.
Yeah, I feel like every dog walker should steal like one utensil, like a pan or something. Just like take it. That person, if they have, I've thought about that. It specifically has to be a kitchen cooking thing because they're expensive enough where like you double your earnings. But if the person is paying you to dog walk, they don't have time to cook. So they won't notice that shit's missing for months. Like if you take like someone's like slow cooker, you good. That person ain't slow cook shit. They ain't in the house to monitor any of that, You don't got like $3 million condo and pay for someone to walk your dog twice a day and also like make killer brisket. That's not the same person. But you own like a panini press that you never use because someone gave it to you. You know, so they got great
Okay.
kitchen utensils that are just in pristine condition. So yeah, if you walk that dog for $25, take that shit. You know, make some fancy sandwiches in your studio apartment. You deserve it.
You said Canadian press.
I'm literally picturing one person's apartment right now that I'm gonna rob.
Yeah, it's very specific. Yeah, I'm gonna get that Panini press one day. One day you're gonna need a dog walker. I'm gonna set the whole thing up.
Finally, Apple's weather app briefly went down and rained on everyone's morning, apparently. Okay, anyone using their iPhone and checked the weather on Tuesday this week may have had better luck just looking out the window. Apple's default weather app briefly went down for many users on on Tuesday morning, showing blank screens with no data. The result,
This is yesterday, right?
yeah, yesterday.
Yeah, okay, that happened to me. Yeah, that's crazy.
Yeah, do you rely on the weather app like that?
I do because LA is weird lately, where it's like it'll be really warm, but actually, like it'll be like you have to look closely to see like because it'll say like 67 sunny, right?
Yeah.
But then you have to look closely at the report, and it'll be like windy all day because then that brings it down like 10 to 15 degrees. So yesterday, I thought I was trying to be cute wearing shorts, but the weather app was down. And so, because I look outside, I'm like, oh, it looks sunny. Okay, it's gonna be warm today. And then I was cold the whole time in the studio a lot. I had hard nipples. I mean, with execs, they're like, "You okay?" I'm like, I'm just so excited. I'm just as excited as you.
Never been happier to be here, you know.
But yeah, we don't have Alexa in our apartment here. We have it back in New York, so we always be like, start the Alexa weather, right?
Yeah.
But here it's like we rely on our phones. So when that stuff is down, it's rough.
Yeah, I've never relied on it, and I realize it's a very New York thing because, like,
Mm,
if I look out my window, I know the weather, and as much as like
yeah.
a commute could be like 2 hours in New York, it's also never more than like 2 miles. You know,
Mm,
whereas like
yep.
I
Yep. Yep.
started thinking that like in LA, like I could not leave LA and drive like 60 miles, and like the weather could
Mm-mm.
legitimately be different over there.
Oh yeah,
You know,
definitely.
I don't
Yep.
experience that here. Like whatever I looked at outside when like I went to get my bacon, egg, and cheese, that's gonna be what I deal with today. Like, okay. So I never look at the phone app. Whereas like my wife, like she goes into the office like once a week, but that shit is in like upstate New York, her job. So like
Mm,
she'll like
got it.
telecommute, don't check the weather, but when she gotta check the weather, it's because she's like up in the mountains. She's like, it's legitimately different. You know, that's like a 2 hour trip and shit. She's like,
Yeah.
yo, I'm in Mount Kisco, you know, like the weather is different from what I left in East New York. I was like, fair.
Yeah.
Yeah, I've never cared about the app. I heard a lot of people complaining about this yesterday. I could not empathize at all, but I'm starting to see the light. You know, I
Okay.
felt cold blooded yesterday. I was like, I don't understand. You don't got windows where you live. You ain't been outside before, but yeah, you're right.
I mean, we're also in the corner too, like in our complex. So like I had to like really crane my neck out the window to see like what the actual weather looks like
Yeah,
because it's just shady in our corner. So it's like I either have to look really intently out the window or I have to go outside and take a few steps out and get a lay of the land.
yeah.
That's too much work, bro. Then just going on my phone, that's too much.
Look at that. Apple was just trying to make sure everybody got a couple extra steps in yesterday. You know, everybody was slacking off this week on their steps. They're like, nah, B, I'm gonna make sure the whole nation goes outside to check. Done
You
deal.
know what's wild about steps? Like in LA, like no one walks here. So every time like I go for a walk or I talk about walking, like last night I had a meeting at a restaurant that was like 20-minute walk from my apartment.
Yeah.
And I'm getting there and the person's like, oh, like were you able to find parking? I was like, I walked here. No, you walked? Like, which is such a weird vibe to start a meeting off with. Like, it's just like you walked.
Who does that?
I'm from
You
New
know what I
York.
mean?
Yeah.
Are you okay in life? You know?
Are you so broke you can't afford a car? It's like, I don't need a car.
It's a manageable distance. We've done this before
Mm-hmm.
everywhere
Yep.
else in the world, you know? uh, Before you get up out of here, Brandon, what you got going on, man? Where can people catch more of your work at?
Oh, absolutely. Y'all can follow me at American Counts and all social media platforms, AmericanCounts.com. I got a bunch of shows coming up, including Drunk Black History, our Juneteenth brunch show on Sunday, June 18th at the Bell House in Brooklyn. We have both in-person and online tickets available. You can get that at drunkblackhistory.com. And then the homie Mike Brown and I are bringing back our Comedy Outlier show that's critically acclaimed for a Brooklyn series at Union Hall, also in Brooklyn, obviously. Tickets can be found at AmericanCollege.com. Just go to my show button, as well as other stuff I got going on there. And then I do a movie review podcast called Medium Popcorn. That's Rotten Tomatoes accredited. You can check that out at MediumPopcorn.com. I really appreciate coming on and being able to guest host with you, bro.
Nah, man, thanks for coming through. I appreciate it because, admittedly, I feel like when I do this by myself, it's just like slowly
It's sad,
depressing.
right?
Yeah, it's weird. I don't know how people do podcasts on their own. It's very odd to me. I feel like it says something about you. It's not that it's a negative that you can. I feel like it's too revealing because that's also how I write jokes. Like I just talk out loud by myself,
Yep.
and I don't want anybody to hear those thoughts on like I don't know. It's too vulnerable for me. So yeah, I'm gonna keep those secrets. Thanks to people like you helping me out. But yeah, man, thanks so much for coming through. Thanks to everybody who shared articles this week. Shouts to FCBLJ and Lori McDaniel. Always appreciate y'all. With all that said, this has been another episode of the War Report. Catch y'all next time. Peace.